Yo, this is Miss Wanda.
Hi, my name is François. I'm the founder of Incultured Company, and you're listening to the Sweet Podcast.
What's up, everyone? Welcome, family. Sakwa, how you doing? My name is Wanda Tima, and welcome back to another episode of the Sweet Podcast, powered by your favorite Haitian diaspora platform, Linio Sweet, of course, where we are redefining the narrative of Haiti and Haitians every day. Well, we have a special guest today. We are excited to be back in the studio, and I feel like we are starting off strong because our guest today is the definition of that, in my opinion. So we have François, which I already think is like the cutest thing in the world, because I really wanted to ask if France is your real name, or is that your IG social media
No, that
name?
is my actual name. Everybody asks me that. No, that's my real name.
So you're François.
Yeah, that's
okay.
on my birth. You want to see my driver's license?
So we're here with France today. Before I get into her bio, so basically, really quick, what you should know about her is she is a multi-passionate writer, activist, and change agent who's been featured in MSNBC, CNN, Huffington Post, Ebony, Latino USA, the Miami Herald, and the Washington Post. So you right.
I write.
You right. So, friends, say hi. Welcome to the Sweet Podcast. Thank you for making time and sitting with us today.
Thank you. No, I'm super excited to be here. Super excited to have this conversation and tell you guys about the work we've been doing with Incultured Company and, just like see the Haitian diaspora really rise.
Yeah, no, I was very excited. I remember the first time I found out about you and was like, oh, we should talk to her. And I was like, before I do anything, I need to get an understanding of what is she doing? Why did she decide to do this? And after our first conversation, I was like, yeah, we need to do this and we need to speak so people get a broad idea of what you're doing, because just looking at your social media page doesn't even speak to what you're doing with Incultured Company. So just give you guys a bio. François is the founder and CEO of Incultured Co. France is a multi-passionate writer and change agent transforming communities of color around the globe by redefining the way their stories are told and how we impact their lives. After the 2010 earthquake in Haiti, she left Egypt, where she had been working with refugees, to return to her country of birth. To return to
Haiti.
So you were working with refugees in Egypt?
Yeah.
To return to Haiti? Mm-hmm. Wow. Okay, we're going to get to that in a little bit. So you worked on social issues and international development projects post-earthquake Haiti, acting as a conduit for getting the voice of the community to decision makers and helping the resources of decision makers flow to communities to make direct impact. Mm-hmm. So what does all that mean?
That's a good question. So I was actually in 2010 when the earthquake hit, was a week before I left for Egypt. So I had gotten a Boren fellowship to go learn Arabic and work with refugees in Egypt. And while I was there, I was seeing the pictures of the devastation after the earthquake, and I was studying conflict resolution and peace in the Middle East, whereas my own country was in shambles. And so I felt the need to go back. I actually ended my Boren fellowship right as the Arab Spring broke out in Egypt.
Wow.
Came back and started working with the Clinton Bush Haiti Fund and started going back and forth between DC and Haiti for years, working with multilateral development banks and donors and thinking about how to make sure what was happening on the ground in Haiti with communities in Haiti was reflected in the projects and the programs that were being developed in DC. Because the unfortunate reality is a lot of decisions for Haiti are made in DC or in Paris or in Canada.
By people sometimes I've never even been.
Exactly. Or by people who went on a Peace Corps trip or a mission trip, and all of a sudden they're the Haitian experts.
Right.
So I had to kind of knee my way in to be the Haitian voice at the table. And oftentimes that table was very hesitant or reluctant or straight up hostile to Haitians. But I felt that if I didn't speak up and say look, this is what the community needs, it wasn't going to happen. So I did that for as long as I could and as long as I felt that I was able to make an impact before the La Sentencia happened in the DR, and we started also working on human rights issues in the DR.
Wow. So one of the things I normally get, especially when you talk about people that's trying to fight for Haiti, a lot of times people are not in Haiti. They don't even really know what's going on. They're going by a lot of the stuff that's happening here in the States and saying, like, we need to make these decisions. But you made sure that you were on the ground there and you had a great understanding of what was going on there if you were going to be any kind of change agent for. No, that's beautiful.
Yeah, I mean, I am grateful for those, like, that 6-year period that I worked in Haiti, because I wasn't only in the capital, in Pétionville, in nice hotels. I spent so much time in Natibonite, sitting in community meetings. Sometimes that went to like 8 p.m., where each and every person got to speak and decisions were made democratically, or going to the house of the Mambo, you know, in the mountains of Cap, and really listening to like what the health issues were there and how they saw things represented, or sitting on the coast with fishermen who were talking about, you know, how climate change actually impacted their very lives. Like, you know, it wasn't this theoretical thing. Like, day to day, they were seeing the impacts of climate change, and then being able to then say, like, okay, this is how I can help some of the money that's coming through for these projects help impact your lives. I think a lot of time the Haitian diaspora is an impediment to Haiti, in that we support people and decisions, and we go out with this, like, those same white savior attitude that we criticize Americans for, because we think that our ethnicity alone is an expertise, and it's not. It really isn't. Like, Haiti, each part of Haiti is so different. The cultural context, the religious context, and also the reality people are living, that if you don't spend time there, sometimes you end up hurting more than you help. And so, you know, I've often told people, like, do not give money to this charity, or, you know, be very careful about how you're supporting people on the ground. And that takes a level of, like, humility to say that I'm not the best person to do this. There's someone in Haiti that could do this better, and let me just send them money, you know, directly, and let them do it. And it's not going to be a photo op. There ain't going to be no pictures on the gram. It's just going to be a Western Union, and that's it.
But that's one of the things that I've encountered, like, even started since starting Union Suite, is just that. A lot of times, like, you know, that's what we really do. We think we have it figured out, and I'll hear people say, oh, you know, Wanda, I need your help because I'm going to start this organization to do this and this and that. And I'm normally like, well, did you do any research to find that someone is already doing that in Haiti? There's already an organization that's dedicated years into this exact project you're trying to do. Like, wouldn't it make more sense to reach out to them and find out how you can be a part of it? And, you know, you guys can work together, versus you just thinking, I'm going to gather a bunch of my friends here and just go.
Right.
So, like, even with that, why do you think that is the case, though? Like, most of the diasporas here, even sometimes when there are organizations, just prefer to do their own thing. Like, no, we're just going to go and do this because Haiti needs.
Yeah, I think it's two things. I think one is that even we as in the diaspora have bought into this idea that Haiti is a basket case, that we're gonna save Haiti. Like, how many times are you know on the plane and there are like a bunch of missionaries with save Haiti, help
with
Haiti,
the colored shirts, color coordinated uniforms,
right? And like, how many of them sometimes too are our own church members, our own families, going with that same mentality that there's something special about us because we had the privilege of leaving. And that's not true. Like, that's just a matter of chance, like who got to leave and who didn't. So I think what that plays into it is that we sometimes have internalized those stereotypes about Haiti, and so it becomes really hard to believe that there actually is someone in Haiti that's doing this already. Like, when I've gone down to Haiti, and there are people who've started their own robotics programs because, you know, they stole a solar panel off the street light, and they got the community kids together, and that's what they do. And so I've seen like amazing things people do with just a little bit of resource. And so I think that's one. And then the second is that there is very much a lot of corruption in Haiti, and it's difficult to navigate that red tape if you don't understand the system. And so a lot of people, what they do is they recreate the wheel. They create parallel systems so that they won't have to go through the official channels. But what you end up doing then is you weaken the official channels, because you can't say that, oh, you know, Haiti doesn't have enough hospitals. the healthcare industry in Haiti doesn't work, and instead of helping prop that healthcare industry up, you set up something else and you siphon all the Haitian doctors and nurses away from the public sector to the private sector. You just you recreate problems, and you see that with, you know, whether it's Partners in Health, Doctors Without Borders. So many of Haitian doctors are in Montreal.
Yeah.
Why? Because if Doctors Without Borders is doing it for free, why would someone pay a Haitian doctor? So we end up sometimes being part of the exact same problem that we criticize, because you don't want to deal with the bureaucracy, with the corruption. But if we don't build up that Haitian civil society, we just end up becoming this cycle.
Yeah. You know what I love about you, and that was like from the very first time we had our first conversation, and then at NYU when we did the panel discussion, you're so honest and blunt in a way that like I'm not really used to with Haitian diasporas that's doing the work that you're doing. Because it's almost like a lot of times you find people, it's not that they don't know this information or know this, but these type of conversations I normally have in private with people, and I'll ask questions and they'll give me answers like that, but they'll be like, listen, don't say
don't say that on camera.
Don't say, I told you that. Don't quote me. I'm not, and I always say, well, how do like even someone like me that's that's trying to help, how do I help if I can't be honest with the information? Or because the next thing is like, where did you get this information? And you're not even willing to do that. So how exactly do we change things if we don't really want to be honest, and the people that really understand and get what's going on are afraid to talk? So I like, even with your answer, I was like, okay, so she's gonna keep it real with us today.
We keep it real. I mean, I might get some DMs later, but
so in Cultured Company. Before I even get into that, where did you grow up?
So I was born in Cap-Haïtien.
Okay.
And my parents were actually human rights defenders and activists during the Duvalier regime. And our house ended up being bombed because of their activism. And we left and went to Turks and Caicos for a while, and then eventually ended up here in Miami. So I grew up most of my life in Miami.
Oh, okay. So you've already come from a fighting family.
Right. Yeah. So for my mom, she's just like, whatever.
Right, because that was going to be my next thing. Like, when you're doing what you're doing, Haitian parents, and then you grow up in South Florida, our parents are normally like, oh, Miss Ami, s'il vous plaît, please. Yeah. Okay, so you come from that.
I mean, I think that's an important thing. Like, my parents came from that tradition, so they were the kind of people that would pull us out of the class to go to protests. Like, I remember being like right beside Marlene Bastien when I was a kid. I'm the kid holding up the sign and things like that, because they felt like we had a duty to our people back home, because it's a privilege to come to the U.S. Like, you aren't special in any way. There are hundreds of people in Haiti just as smart, as you, and you got that privilege, so you have to give back. Now, that being said, they've also been very honest with me about the security concerns that come with that, with activism, and just making that decision about whether or not you're going to take the risk as well as the rewards, because that's the reality of where we're from too, is that like Haiti has been very successful at times at like shutting down political dissent. And if we don't have those conversations openly, then how do we expect our country to move forward? Like, there has to be that exchange of ideas that happens. There has to be an ability to disagree and say, this is just a disagreement. This isn't like a life or death sentence, Yeah.
So what did that look like growing up in South Florida? Like, even around that time, like even now we see what Marlene is doing, but there's so many other people now that, her tribe is actually has a lot of millennials and people there. And back then there wasn't so many. There was groups, but not to the extent with now that you have social media and stuff like that. So what did that look like back in the day?
Yeah, that's a good question. I think it looked a lot different back in the day, because we had these elders who had done it in Haiti, and they came, and it was almost like a copy paste model. Like, it was the same like bottomed up grassroots mobility. It was very reactive. So I remember oftentimes, like, if there were issues where like boats full of Haitians who come over and who are being detained, or unjust immigration policies, then, you know, we would react to that. I think that like the generational shift now is moving towards being more proactive and hopefully setting up like a political base for us, in that we're able to like head these off and get like pro-Haitian policies passed, both immigration, business-wise and economic-wise. So I think it looks a little different than when it did before. I think the generation that came before us, they had to be reactive because there was just so much coming at them at once. There was so much anti-Haitian policies here, anti-Haitian sentiments that they had to deal with. Now we have the opportunity to kind of take a step back and think about like how we can be strategic. And so I think that's what a lot of people are doing, just building on what that previous generation has already done.
Do you think like the new generation now respect the work?
That's a good question.
Yeah.
That's a good question. Ooh, my DM's gonna be on and popping. I think it's the same with talking about going back to Haiti, right?
Yeah.
Like there's this hubris in that some people don't understand like what it was like growing up when people said all Haitians have AIDS. When that was on the news, the CBC said that, like every single layer of the government was set up that way, where when you go into the hotels, they wouldn't hire Haitians. Like some people don't have that historical context, so they walk into these situations and they're like, I don't understand why you guys do this that way, and or why I should even have to talk to a Malin or someone else. And so that's created this tension. But on the other hand, too, I think the previous generation, some of them are holding on to power in a way that hasn't allowed the younger generation to step in with new ideas. Even if the younger generation does respect the work that came before, there's some people who should have taken a step back by now that haven't done that yet. And that has prevented us from becoming as powerful as like the Cuban diaspora or even the Puerto Ricans and stuff here.
Yeah, because even with the with TPS, I remember when I started taking TPS serious and trying to get a better understanding of it, that was around the time where I was like really having an appreciation for Marlon, the work that she's done, because I had to go learn about her, and I'm like, oh my God, this lady, you know, she's done so much in South Florida, and you have like the gypsies, and I couldn't understand why, like when she would set up protests and things like that, why weren't there more millennials out there and more people? And you know, like the work that she was doing was so important, but the numbers I feel just didn't add up to the situation and what was going on. Like there should have been way more people out there supporting her. And you know, it's hard, like, you know, you ask these questions, you're trying to figure out, well, what's the disconnect? And the millennials say one thing, and then you have the older generation of people say, you know, something different, and trying to get people to understand that idea of, okay, how do we meet in the middle? I just don't think, you know, we're even there yet. So yeah, it's very interesting to hear, you know.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of things that are going on with that. Like there's, you know, there are divisions too amongst the Haitians. The older generation has their divisions, the younger generation have their divisions, and unfortunately, we as a people have this king mentality. Like there has to be one king and a bunch of servants. Like that's how we operate as a people. And it's a direct reflection of our politics, is that there's always a strong man. And so we haven't been able to like socially create a space where there can be multiple leaders who create a coalition. And that coalition, maybe we don't agree on everything, but we're gonna, on TPS, we're like, all right, we're all gonna be pushing for this. Yeah. You know, and so I'm hoping that like these conversations are happening. And I know that they are happening, but it has to be a situation where there can exist 3 or 4, 5 or 6 Marlins, gypsies, so on and so forth.
And sometimes not even in the same space.
Exactly.
You know, because it's like if Marlon's good at what she does, and then you have this other person that's great at marketing, or that's, you know, great at going out and get funding or something. Like, we can all stand together and be doing completely different things. Because I can't do what Marlon do, you know, but I know what I can do, and I see, you know, how I could be supportive, and, you know, her projects and things like that. And that's another thing that I feel like it's missed. Like sometimes leaders don't have to be within the same space. Like you can have leaders that's within different spaces being great at what they do. And us coming together and just moving collectively.
Yeah. I would say, though, that I think there's also a difference between different groups of Haitians, because, like, I see the New York Haitians able to organize politically and strategically more effectively than Miami Haitians. Yeah. So that I would just put that. And I think that could be a whole different discussion about the why.
That even with their, little Haiti.
Right.
Like they got that done. They weren't playing.
Right. Yeah. They've got several, Haitian elected officials in different levels of office. So they've been
what's different with them I've been watching? They get social media.
Yeah.
Because even with me, that's how I keep up with a lot of stuff that they're doing. They get social media. They send us stuff. Like, they make sure we're aware, like, Union Suite. Yeah. Listen, this person is running. Y'all make sure, like, they get, that concept. Yeah. So let's get into Encultured Company. So you're doing all this work. You're already kind of, powerful within your own right and what you're doing. You decide to start Encultured Company. So let me kind of give people, some information on Encultured Company. So the company basically sowed the seed of peace, conflict resolution, reconciliation, collaboration, healing, and dialogue in young Haitians and Dominicans in order to move from a divided past towards a shared future. You guys curate unique experiences, facilitate intimate gatherings, and design educational tools and resources to deconstruct the division that have defined the diaspora across historic chasm and promote transformational change in the next generation of leaders. We build bridges where others have built barriers.
Yeah. I think Encultured Company came about. So in order to understand this, let me take a step back. So in 2013, the DR had been, for a long time, denying people of Haitian descent their birth certificates, their documents, their IDs, and all these things. And in order to understand this, I think it's important to know that since the 1930s up until the 1990s, every single Haitian president was paid $1.5 million annually or every sugarcane season by the DR to send Haitians to the DR in order to work. And it didn't matter what was going on cue, Haiti would send its people to the DR with the understanding that DR would send them back. DR never sent them back. And Haiti never asked for them back. And so instead of saying, wait, like, I sent you 100 people, where are they at? Like, Haiti just kept taking money and sending people. So you ended up with 4 generations of people of Haitian descent in the DR living in situations of basically modern day slavery because they had no access to their papers to get out. There were checkpoints set up outside of what they call bateys, which are basically sugarcane plantations, like the housing. And so even if they wanted to leave, there were guards along the roads that would always stop them. So they never had an opportunity to go back to Haiti. And even if they worked enough, they would always add on things to their fees and say, oh, you broke this machine, that's another $100 that you're going to have to work off. So, people never made enough money to go back. Even if they did, there were never safe enough conditions for them to make it back. And so DR looks around and they're like, oh shit, we've got 4 generations of people of Haitian descent, like it's 250,000 people. That's a voting block. That's a black voting block in a country, in a country ruled by a white minority. And they were like, oh, no, we can't do this. So in 2013, they changed their constitution retroactively and said, it used to say that if you're born in the DR, you're Dominican. But now, nope, you guys are no longer Dominican. And it specifically targeted that Haitian minority. And then all of a sudden, like 2015 rolls up. And I'm working in Haiti, and I'm getting calls from my colleagues on the border saying that they're seeing like trucks full of black people, whether they're Haitian or Dominican or not, just trucks full in the middle of the night being picked up and dumped into Haiti. Yeah. And so we started working in D.C. to kind of highlight what was going on to Congress and the State Department. And
before you even go into that, so I feel like a lot of people think that this was just like new information. A lot of people were just shocked. Like, wait, where did this come from?
Right.
Why didn't I hear about this? You know, is DC aware? Are they, and like, why was it like this shock? If this has been going on all these years, what was this?
I think it was social media. Because, like, the DRs, you know, in the 90s, they did this. They did, like, a sweep. They, you know, they dumped people. They've done this continuously. But now with social media, you had people, like, reporting on the ground as this happened. People were tweeting pictures of the refugee camps. People were sharing their stories about what was happening to them. So there was this sense of urgency before that we didn't have. Because what would happen, like, the DR, the master of propaganda, like, the whole state functions as basically government-led propaganda. And so even after the Parsley massacre, if you look at like old newspaper clippings from that time, you'll see like the DR media, which is, you know, a hand of the government saying like, oh, no massacre ever happened. It was just, you know, a skirmish between a couple farmers on the border. And then you look at the Haitian side and the Haiti's like, well, no, thousands of our people are gone. And so before we had the term fake news or info war, Trujillo and the Dominican government were the master of fake news. And so it was really hard then to get information out. But now with social media, everybody's a reporter and everybody was telling their own story. So I think that's what built this sense of urgency this time around and people paid attention. But even we weren't able to get like the political solution that we wanted then, which was that these people got their citizenship back.
That's what I was going to ask you. What you guys go to DC? What was the call of action?
So we ended up bringing groups all around the country, like 100 Dominicans and Haitians, like Edwige Dantica, Juno Diaz, a lot of like Dominican Haitian politicians, regular people down to like your high school daughter people came to kind of tell these stories and tell what was happening. And we also met with the State Department. So what we were able to do was to get the State Department to pull visas from Dominican officials that they could mark as human rights abusers. But that's not what we had wanted to do. What we had wanted was for the U.S. to cut off trade ties because it was clear that the DR was violating several human rights laws. Yeah. Like they were violating their own constitution by stripping people of their citizenship. They were violating it by making that strip retroactive. Like I can't say, for example, you can't dye your hair gold today, but you dyed your hair last month and then put you in jail. Like that, you can't legally do that. You can't retroactively punish someone, but they were doing that. These like targets towards an ethnic minority, like those are grounds for genocide. Like there are things they couldn't do that they were doing. But again, the DR was spending almost $1 million at the time on lobbyists, and they would go and say, none of this is happening. You know, like they would pay a little bit of money here, there in Congress, you know.
And that's it.
That's it. So we got what we could at the time, but then we also realized that perhaps we might never get a political solution. We might never get Haitian and Dominican leaders that are brave enough to say, like, this can't continue.
So right now, these citizens or, non-citizens, as what they've told them, are what now? Like
they're just stateless. So DR said they put together a solution in which those people could apply for their residency, for Dominican residency for 2 years, if they could prove that they had papers before. But we have so many stories of people who would go in with their papers and their papers would be torn up in their faces. And that's if you even make it past all those checkpoints to get out of the batays in the first place. And then let's be honest, like neither Haiti or DR is like a bastion of good bureaucracy. So the vast majority of people didn't have any papers. And to this day, like most Haitians, like just average Haitians probably don't have any documents to prove where they were born. Yeah. And the same on the Dominican side. Most people, if you weren't born in the capital, you don't have any documentation. So they're just stateless. They don't exist. They can't vote. They can't own a house. They can't continue education past the 6th grade. They do not exist. The government basically civically wiped them out of existence.
So with you being Haitian, you've worked and been, an activist for Haiti and Haitians all these years. You decide to start a company, and your company's about bridging the gap, bringing Haitians and Dominicans together. Why that? Why aren't you upset? Why like this? Why aren't you raging? Like why aren't you like? Why bring them together?
Right. That's a great question. I think that one of the things that we realized, like I was saying, is that we might never get politicians that are brave enough to take a stand. But if we get people at the grassroots to understand what's going on, to see the humanity of one another, and to take a stand, then those people can disrupt the system. Like if we get enough doctors, lawyers, teachers, artists, musicians, regular average people to say like, no, this doesn't make any sense, then that way we can disrupt the system. And so that's why our approach is very much grassroots and about the people, because we think that the people are the country. Like we are our democracies, we are our nation. And if our leaders don't represent that, the moment that we are like, nah, we're done, that's it. And so that's why we took that approach, because we're never going to have as much money as either government, but we've got social media, we've got all these other means of really bringing people together and challenging those stereotypes, challenging the lies and misinformation, and really getting people to say, like, this doesn't make sense and this is not what I want to represent me.
A lot of in culture companies based on education. You guys do a lot of that. It's like a high emphasis on education, making sure people are aware, they know the history, you know, of both countries and everything else. And a lot of times, when people sometimes, like you have people that's now that's probably just learning about this, right? They might be interested in, you know, going your direction and following your lead, and then they learn the history, and they're like, wait a minute, they did what to Haitians? And so then you have to do, you know, you have to deal with, once you learn the history, does that really make you more, you know, empathetic and want to like get together? Or does it now cause more division because not everybody's going to have that,
right?
You know?
Yeah, I think that's a fair point. And then the reason when we do our Decolonizing Hispaniola workshops, we do it with both Haitians and Dominicans in the room. There's always the same number of Haitians as Dominicans, is for you to have that time right there with the other person on the other side of the table and process those feelings right then and there. Because I think that's a natural reaction to hearing that, like, you know, so many of my people were slaughtered or mistreated or whatever, and saying like, yo, like what is that about? But instead of taking that home, like we're like, all right, like let's talk about this, because these feelings are valid. But do you want to carry that hate with you? Like, is that what you want to pass on? Because oftentimes we see that our people are traumatized people, and I mean I'm specifically talking about Haitian people. Like how much trauma is passed down from generation to generation. Like we have never talked about what happened in the earthquake, much less during the déchoucage of Voodooisans. We've never talked about what the Aristide period actually meant for people. We never talked about Duvalier. We just we get up and we go. Yeah. You know? And then you pass that on to your kids as if that's normal. But we got to break that cycle. So that's what we do in the workshops. We break that cycle. It's like, no, you're not going to take this hurt with you. Like, let's deal with that pain right now.
So do you think right now with the work that you guys are doing, do you think this has been more impactful, or has it caused, more division? Like you guys are heavy on social media. You have the class of the few people there, but you're heavy on social media and you have a larger following on social media. So what has been the response to what you're doing?
Right. So we have our workshops. So the next one is June 15th, and that'll be about 120 people. But you're right, social media has we have a larger following on social media. It's easier to talk to different people. And I think we've been successful in creating a platform where people do have those conversations. Like in the comments, they talk, they ask those questions. And it's supposed to be a safe space where you can feel comfortable asking those things. And so the reaction, the response has been largely positive from the people who want to learn and who want to take those steps. From the people who don't, I mean, you saw yourself what the response was, and that's just par for the course. Yeah.
Because one of the things that we discussed, so when was it, last month? So last month, and Culture Company held a panel discussion at NYU, and it was with the what was the name of the group? It was you guys with NYU alumni, but wasn't there another?
It was us.
It was just you two? Okay. And it was called We Dream Together. And basically the panel was a dialogue with the issues between, Dominican Republic and Haiti and the vision we have about, bringing everyone together. I think you had like 4 Haitians on the panel. I was one of them, and then 3 Dominicans.
Yeah, it was like 3 or 4.
Dominicans, yeah. And the conversation was great. Like, I was sitting up there learning myself. I was like, oh, wow. And, everyone was sitting in the room. It had to be like 100 people in there. Everything was really, it looked like it was really,
it's going well.
It was going well. Then afterwards, they wait till you're done. And here comes this group. They're waving their flags. They're screaming. And, they're hurling threats at you.
Right.
And, really even, their own people, because the Dominicans in there, they were mad at them for even being in a room doing this with you, right? So you're going to deal with this. And even since that, there's social media, people are threatening you, your pictures are everywhere, like they're sending people to where you guys are trying to do this thing, they're going to shut this down. Like, this is not going to happen. So how are you guys handling that? Like, the work that you're doing, is it impactful enough? Or this is a risk you're willing to take? Or do you think like they're going to get to the point to where they can shut you guys down?
That's a great question. I mean, we thought about it, about whether or not we wanted to shut down our next workshop. We had fundraised, we did a lot of activities to have the workshop, and we keep the workshops free because we feel like money shouldn't be a barrier to access to knowledge. So what we decided was that, our forefathers fought and died for that island, and we would be damned if some like Dominican white supremacists are going to take it from us. Like, it's just not going to happen. So our calculus is that our island and the future of our island is way more important than whatever threats that they make. And I think that the fact that they felt the need to come boycott our event and stuff shows that there is a real fear among like the minority white elite in the DR that the majority brown and black Dominicans will realize they have way much more in common with Haitians than they'll ever have in common with the white elite that run either country, to be quite honest, because that solidarity has been what's gotten our people through several occupations, revolutions, and things like that. Like, Haitians and Dominicans have always fought together against oppression and against imperialism. And the moment that happens again, the white elite know that's a huge threat, and they'll continue doing what they need to do, and we'll continue protecting ourselves, and we'll continue moving forward because the work is so much bigger than us. That we don't feel like we can just stop now because some people are crazy. Like, they're going to act crazy, and that's what the NYPD is for.
Now let's talk our people, because like even on our social media, I've seen it when we post stuff about you guys. Haitians gonna keep it real,
right?
And they're like, people concept is, why, France? You're Haitian. Like, first of all, you started a company. Why do Haitians always have to be the common? Why are we so forgiving? Why do we have to be the ones that go start something that bring people together? Like, haven't we done enough? Like, why? Right. Like, even with us, like, sometimes we post stuff about Dominicans, and people are always like, Leon Sweet, they don't post about us. Like, why does Haitians have to be the ones that's always so cooperative and friendly and understanding?
When have Haitians been cooperative, friendly, and understanding? Okay, I don't know when that's happened. That is not our history. But I think that there's a lot of validity to that question. There are plenty of situations where our forefathers have said, the reality is that anything that happens to one side of the island impacts the other. Like, we are acting like we're like 2 actual separate islands, but it's one island. And if somebody invades one side, all they got to do is cross the river and invade the other. If something, if there was a cholera outbreak on one side, it's going to spread to the other. Like, that's just the reality of living on one island. And so I think that there are a lot of those feelings about the Dominican people that are very much valid. Like, I think our people's pain and hurt is very much valid, because we've all experienced slights or harm or worse from Dominican people. But at what point are you going to move on from that? Like, are you just going to carry that pain for the rest of your life? And this is what I mean by historical trauma. Like, I've seen some of those comments, and people are so hurt. Like, they think, they think they're stunting on the gram, but they look really, really hurt and traumatized. And having grown up here, you grew up in Turks and Caicos. Like, we experience anti-Haitianism too. Like, it's hurtful.
Yeah.
It hurts.
Right here in South Florida.
Right.
Like,
it hurts.
It hasn't been that long since it's been okay to be Haitian.
Exactly. Yeah. And so then for me, the question is, why is it that we are okay with the Haitians in DR experiencing that? Because that's the real question. Like, we're not doing this for the Dominicans or whatever. Like, I have Dominican counterparts, so they can get their people. Yeah. Like, that's why we do this together. But my focus is the safety of the Haitian people or the people of Haitian descent in the DR themselves. And so the question is, why are we willing to let them go through that? Like, why are we willing to abandon them because we are hurt about what happened to us in the 80s and 90s? Like, how is that fair when our forefathers, like, they fought for Black people everywhere, and the idea was that we protect Haitians everywhere. So once the Haitian crosses that river, all of a sudden you're like, c'est pas problème, no? Right. Like, that's, I think, is the question that we need to have. Like, when are you ready to...
But are they even willing to comply to any kind of, compliance on the DR's part? Because you guys do all this work here, right? So then how does that translate over to Haiti? Like, what does your work here, how does it affect the people that's there? Is the DR even going to, listen, or are you now create more problems for the people there?
That's a great question. I don't think we're creating more problems because we work in solidarity with them. Like, we're constantly asking them, what do you need? What do you want?
So you have people there that's complying with you? Okay.
Yeah, we collaborate. There's Muda, that's like mothers of Dominican and Haitian descent. There's Reconocido, which is a group of Dominicans of Haitian descent who are now stateless, like young people our age. There's several groups that work with them that we're constantly, touching base with on. And what they've said they need is visibility, because now you've got the Rohingyas, you've got Syria, you've got Yemen. There are all these other issues since 2015 that have become quote unquote more important, right? Like, we've totally forgot there are 250,000 people in the DR that are stateless and that are being attacked because they're Black.
Yeah, that's really not even a conversation anymore. You got people here dealing with TPS.
Right, like, exactly. Yeah. So our attention has shifted, and so what they've said is they need us to keep that light on them, because the moment the world starts paying attention, what the DR will do, we already know what the DR is capable of doing. So I think that it allows a level of accountability, because we have the privilege of being Americans, and that they can get as mad as they want on social media, but what are they going to do to us? What are they going to do? Whereas, like, someone who's stateless, who has they've got nothing, like, they're in so much more of a vulnerable position. And so we intentionally use our privilege to be that buffer, so that if something happens to us, like the DR, to them specifically, the DR knows, like, the whole world's eyes is on them. Because if we don't post for a week, I bet you people are going to be like, yo,
what's going
like,
on? Yeah,
in Culture Company, I didn't hear what's going on.
Yeah.
Like, people are gonna ask questions, and so that's the way we're keeping them alive, and amplifying their voices and amplifying what they're going through. Because the moment that stops, the government is liable to do just about anything.
Their government. Let's talk our government, because there's that we don't talk about that too much as far as what are they doing. I would like to say they haven't done anything. Correct me if I'm wrong so far. Yeah. Like, what are they doing? Can they do anything? Are they choosing not? Like, where are we in that?
So there are different levels of answers to that. So remember, I started off by saying that it was the Haitian government who sold those people to the DR. We, the first Black republic, freed ourselves from slavery and then sold our people into slavery.
Just know people about to hit history books and Google, like, what is France talking about?
Google.
No, I remember the first time I heard it, I was like, I'm sorry, what?
No, I think that needs to be said. That needs to be understood, because, again, when people are like, oh, well, if you're Haitian, why do you care? Why don't you care? How many of us we have people in our family who've gone to work in the DR or Turks and Caicos or Bahamas or Cuba. You'd never heard from them again.
Yeah.
But in the Haitian concept, once that person is gone, they're gone. And that's problematic, that we are willing to just totally cut our ties with our people once they leave the island. Like that shouldn't be. And you see that in the diaspora. It's hard coming back because there's a sense that you're no longer with us. And so we need to have a talk about that with the government. So what the government had done in 2015, they had tried to set up these mobile registrations for people who were actually Haitian, who were actually born in Haiti, who were undocumented for whatever reason. There were these mobile registrations where the government would allow you to come, get your paperwork, all that stuff. The DR tried to block that as much as possible. It made it really difficult for them to actually like get up and running. But for the people who are Dominican, who were born in the DR, like they're not Haiti's responsibility. Like if you're not born in Haiti, you're not Haitian. And if you don't have like a direct like familial tie, you're also not Haitian. So if your grandma, your mother were born in the DR, you know, like Haiti's like, you're not. So like that's a conversation that needs to be had about what dual citizenship looks like. But right now that's not a realistic option for those people because they have no ties to Haiti. And so that was one thing that Haiti was doing. But on the economic sense, Haiti is DR's second or third largest trade partner. And so they, in terms of trade, there was a period where like for a week they blocked Dominican goods from coming into Haiti, and that caused a huge thing. But the Dominican and the Haitian elite got together and got that blockade taken off, and that economic pressure was something like the DR would have responded to. And like Haiti could have used its economic leverage to say like, look, those people they're not Haitian citizens, but they're of Haitian descent, and you need to treat them like people. Like it doesn't matter where they're from, they're people. But Haiti, you know, leads with its own like interests of the minority, and it backed off that. And so right now, the leverage that Haiti had, it used it up, and it didn't follow up on. So nothing's really happened on the Haitian side. And there was the reality is there's no big difference between the Haitian and Dominican elite. They vacation together, they go to school together. You know, a lot of the hotels on both sides of the island are owned by the same groups of people. Like when you look at it, look into who owns Caribe, for example. So the government has responded to that pressure instead of standing up for human rights.
Wow. So once again, it comes back. I feel like this is as far as the new generation go and how we do things, is more of galvanize. Let's get our marketing together. Social media. Let's be loud. Let's be effective.
Right.
So you're already doing that. You're, risking your life for a lot of people, to be able to be outspoken and do the work that you're doing. So what does change look like? Like for Haitians, that's like France. Going ahead now. Go somewhere with this. Mm-hmm. Like, what is your response to them? Like, what do you say to the Haitian diaspora that's like, nah, that's not how we're gonna do this?
Right. I mean, change looks like change on both sides of the island. Mm-hmm. Like, let's not sit here and act like only DR has problems. Like, change looks like an equitable government. It looks like equitable housing, education, equitable economic opportunities, so people don't even have to go to the DR in the first place. Like, that's what change looks like. On the DR side, change looks like a government that's reflective of its people and that respects people regardless of your race, your color, your ethnicity. But like on our side too, we do not have a Haiti for all Haitian people. Like, we need to examine why it is that there are so many Haitians in Miami, in Turks and Caicos, in DR, and Bahamas in the first place. And when we can have that honest conversation and we can push for change, then we won't be in a situation where we have to constantly beg for the respect of the diaspora.
Wow. And the same question to Dominicans.
Right.
That may feel like that. What is your answer to them?
I mean, I think that Haiti is the first Black republic, right? 1804. The Dominican Republic, 1822, is the second Black republic in the region. Did you know that? Nope. No. They don't either. Yeah. And that's a problem. Like, their entire society has been built on this anti-Blackness that denies who they are and denies their rightful place in society, and therefore denies the rights of the vast majority of Dominican people who are Black, who are people of African descent. And so what that looks like for them is to actually be able to take their country back from this white minority that has for so long, taught them propaganda and denied them all the rights of someone who is the majority of their country.
So what does change look like through Encultured Company?
Yeah. So, I mean, our goal is to prepare that next generation to be able to make those decisions. And like I said earlier, I think there's a role at every level of society that we play in making change. And that change happens in the diaspora, but we also plan to do work on the island as well. So whether you're a farmer, whether you're a doctor, a lawyer, a teacher, an artist, a musician, we plan to get as many people as possible to go through this process, through our workshops with us. And so that at every level of society, they are, placed to make decisions that are best for all people, not for a minority of people, not for just for people who look like you, who have the same class, because let's talk about class, same color as you, but for everybody. And when we can get everybody on the island to think that way, I think like that's when the next revolution began, because we're in need for like closing the loop, because there were so many promises that were made to us in the Haitian Revolution that are unfulfilled. And I'm hoping that our generation is the generation that fulfills those promises.
Ooh, girl, you got a lot of work ahead of you.
Yeah, girl. First, I'm going to the beach today.
Oh, you have a lot of work,
right.
Ahead of you. Right. You already dressed for the beach today, so you might as well take this nice little day off.
Right.
But thank you so much. Oh my gosh, like I feel like every time I talk to you, I learn so much more. Like you have me like ready to go out and start fighting with you, but but thank you so much, for being here with us today. Please let everyone know how to follow you and follow Encultured Company and the work you guys are doing.
Yes, thank you. So you can follow me at First Class France. That's 1ST Class France on any social media platform. At Encultured Company, you can find us at inculturedco.org or on any social media platform at Enculturedco. So hopefully you guys follow us and we'll see you soon.
Thank you so much, everyone. And our time is up. So thank you for tuning in. Thank you, friends. Don't forget to like, comment, share this Sweet Podcast on social media. We are on SoundCloud, Google Play, and iTunes. So make sure you support and share this wonderful episode with our girl, François.
When is the episode airing?
We'll do that. I'll tell you later.
Okay, because our workshop is June 15th. I don't
know it'll be up before.
Okay, go ahead, so let me plug it. Okay, so if you are interested in the work of Encultured Company, our Decolonizing Hispaniola workshop will be taking place in Brooklyn on June 15th. There are a couple Haitian tickets left. So all my Haitian diaspora, my Zos, please hop on a ticket, come see our work in person, and be part of this conversation. June 15th in Brooklyn.
Thank you.
Thank you.